Hello everyone, my name is Yazzie. I am the founder and editor of She's Facing Freedom. This is my love. You want to introduce yourself?
The man, the myth, the legend. I'm here.
What is your name, sir?
Tracy.
Okay. This is my husband, Tracy. I just thought it was really cool because we are about to celebrate our 5th year anniversary this week that you will be seeing this video, and it just dawned on me that everyone preaches the importance of marriage, but no one really talks about what that looks like. So this video is our effort to kind of show you what that is, tell you what that is, in a way that you can kind of, I don't know, it makes more sense for you. So we're just gonna jump right in, but I think that it's important, Tracy. So everybody always asks, like, how did we meet? So let's start there. For anybody that's new here to the she'sfacingfreedom.com, tell them the story about how we met.
She was sweating me.
I was not sweating.
No, but the real story is that, the governing council of my fraternity was having a pool party, and we were wrapping up, and as we were wrapping up, I see a couple young ladies walking up a hill. I'm with a couple gentlemen, and I see them walking, and, being the gentleman that I am, decided to go over, introduce myself, and help essentially assist them with carrying their bags, and everyone was willing except for this person right here, to the right of me, and thought I would steal her bags. In reality, I was just trying to be generous and welcome to the campus essentially. But I introduced myself, told her where I was from, and her reply was, "Hey, I'm gonna let you hold their bags, and if you try to run, I'm going to trip you." And little did she know, I'm running up the hill. There's no way for her to trip me. But,
I was going to figure it out.
Well, the rest is history, essentially. It's, I think 4 or 5 months in that I just constantly just kept, pursuing her, whether it was through, IM or AIM at that time, for, people that didn't know what AIM was back in 2005. Whether it was Facebook messages, when Facebook just launched around that time, and there was ways that we had to communicate, and you had to be a little bit, strategic when you're trying to, court someone essentially, if you don't have their phone number. So you got to find ways around trying to see them and figure out their schedule. And good thing that I knew underclassmen, that came in with her that, can, give me the ins and outs where I need to be and things like that. But I guess the rest is history, essentially.
Wait, so you're saying you were talking to upperclassmen to figure out where I was going to be?
Not upperclassmen.
I mean, lowerclassmen.
No, it was just, hey, did you see her type thing? Not like...
So you really were stalking me?
I wasn't stalking you.
Well...
It was just, I had to just pretty much set my presence up for us to cross paths, for me to always give you a 1 or 2 liner and go about my way, right? So... You
were good for those 1 or 2 liners, but I didn't realize you did all of that. Like that.
Well, no, it's not like, oh, hey, did you see her? It wasn't.
Well, no, well, hopefully you're not.
Yeah, it wasn't. Trust me, I got more things to do.
Are you serious? Okay. No, I mean that's fine. Yeah, so we have been together total of going on 15 years total. Married 5 years. And so again, this video is about marriage. So when you, like, this idea of marriage, like, one, I'm sure you didn't know that you would marry me. So, like, what does that all look like?
Marriage is, I guess to go back, grew up in, a Christian household, right? And marriage, when you go to church, it's like that high, pretty much that plateau or that peak, or the highest that you can go, right? And that's the way that you go when you're, courting someone essentially, right? And, I never know what marriage looked like, right? I didn't have a lot of people in my family that was married. My dad got married maybe when I was around 15, 16, so that's different, right? And it's not like, I'm having conversations, about marriage at that age with him, right? And essentially, like, you start learning marriage more when my peers are getting married, right? My close group of friends start getting married, right? We start talking about marriage, but it wasn't really deep talking about marriage, right? You talk about more of the outer surface. I love her. We have a great time together. We've been together X amount of years, or hey, we got kids together. We're building this foundation. Everything's good, and right, and that's what you go about, right? But yeah, I mean, marriage is. No one really talks about it essentially, and I think that's probably the premise behind this video, right? To give you the ins and outs of marriage. But when I think about marriage and stuff now, right, or after being married, I mean, marriage is a great, stepping stone, right? I think for me, marriage is no different than being boyfriend and girlfriend, right? And I always say that, right? It's no different. The only thing different is now that the state recognizes, our love, right? So like now it's recognized by the state, and granted, family and friends always knew of the relationship, but there's no difference, right? Only thing that's different in marriage is now, more communication, right? Being more honest, being more open, right? And those are the things that people don't talk about when you decide to take that next step of marriage.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like for me, like similar to you, I grew up in like a Christian household as well, and like when he talks about marriage being that peak, the summit, essentially, like that's the thing you aspire to, and it's like, but you don't really know what that looks like. And to be honest, like we're about to celebrate 5 years being married, but I felt like I didn't even know what marriage was until I was already married, which I think speaks volumes, and that may be true for other people, right? It's just like, this is what you do, but like no one talks about the importance of like before you get married, right? As women, and I don't know if this is true for men, but I know for women it's like, well, this is how you get a man, right? The best way to a man's heart is through his stomach, right? We've been taught those type of things, but like, what does it really mean to be married? And when you talk about that union, you talk about the partnership and the communication, like all of those things are so crucial, but those are not things that people discuss, people talk about. And so I'm sorry, I'll let you go.
No, go ahead.
I think one thing I wanted to ask you is like, you say that there's no difference between boyfriend and girlfriend, so like what does marriage mean to you?
I mean, marriage still means like that sacred step that you made between you and God, right? Because God is, whether you're, whatever your religious beliefs, but I mean, for me, it's, always doing the right thing by God, right? And I thought, by being married, right, of course you're not supposed to, have sex, right? And, you're not supposed to shack up and do all those things, right? And, growing up, in that Christian household, you go against your beliefs and your faith, right? And you're learning, right, through this experience, right? Whether you're 17, 18, 19, 20, or however old you may be, when you're going through this experience, when you're courting someone or you're dating, you kind of fall back a little bit of, what's going on. But to me, I thought getting married, not only did I love you and I'm like, hey, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, but I wanted to do right by you and I wanted to do right by God, right? So that's what marriage means to me. Still, still putting your religious beliefs first, right? And still honoring, those commitments that you made when you were standing on that aisle, right, between you and God.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for making, what's it called? A good woman out of me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm that guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I don't think that I could have defined this before, but I think that, I've been having these conversations, I've been thinking about this, and, one thing I tell people is that, when you decide to get married, it's like, you are marrying everything, right? Like, you can't just be like, you know what, homeboy is acting up, like deuces. Like you can't say that. Like now that you're married, there's just a different type of weight to it. And it's like, you know, what people don't talk about is like, for instance, when your life does not look the way that you think it's gonna look, like you gotta figure it out, right? And so like if you are here, you read my blog, then you know that like, you know, I struggled for a very long time to find a job. Like he didn't sign up for that. And that was definitely not the life that I ever saw myself having. And I struggled so much, like mentally, physically, financially, all of it. I struggled. And when you get married, it's like you gotta figure it out together, right? And like also you gotta realize like when you are together with anybody, you know, for any amount of time, like in that period, people are going to change, and you gotta allow them, give them the growth to change. And I think that is something that that I learned. And so like in the same regard, like if you ask me like, you know, what does marriage mean to you, it's like, yes, it is a union, yes, it's a partnership, but it really is a choice, a constant choice. Like regardless if we're up, I choose you. If we're down, I choose you. Like if we are struggling, I still choose you, and just know that we're gonna figure it out. And even if I am not sure about the ways in which you change or I change or whatever that may be, I still choose you. Like you're my person, right? And I feel like people don't talk about that enough. Is like it's a constant choice to be like, this person is tripping, but that's still the person I love. That's still the person I want to be with, regardless of whatever is happening, right? So for me, marriage is a constant choice.
I mean, I guess that's interesting, right? It goes back to those old sayings, right? I mean, we talk about it often. Right? We talk about, you know, never go to bed angry with your spouse, right? Or, you know, if you're angry, you know, never, you know, go out without saying anything to each other, right? And those are things that, I mean, we need to work on, right? Because at the end of the day, that when you walk out that door, you never know what's going to happen, right? And you don't want to have any regrets, and you need to be there for one another. And that's the difference in marriage, between like being married and being in a relationship, right? No matter how hard or how tough things get, right, you still have to communicate, right? You still got to sleep in the same bed, right? I mean, and granted, even when you had a second bedroom, right, you sleep on the couch, whatever it may be, you still have to be in that same space. Versus when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, right, and you can, hey, I'm going to go to my mom's house or whatever. And granted, you can do that while you're married too, but it's more of you're still in the same space, so you're forced to work things out, whether you're right or wrong, you know, whether you decide to, you know, give in and say, you know, babe, I was wrong, which, you know, that's one of those things that you hear when you're about to get married, right? You know, the woman's always right, and, you know, you try to make things, you know, good for your relationship and things like that. So those are, you know, little things that I learned, you know, prior to getting married. And do I follow those? No, because I just, you know, I got a hard head, right? I don't like listening, but things are changing. We're in the 21st century now, or 22nd century now, so things are constantly changing. So I just feel like, you know, as marriage, you know, we're young, we're defining, you know, what marriage is, right? And it's good that we're having this conversation for anyone that's considering getting married, or, you know, even our current friends that, you know, we talk about marriage, and, you know, we start going deep down into feelings and things like that.
So you touched on multiple things. One thing is just about the secrets to a healthy marriage, right? Like for men, it's, you know, what did you just say? Oh gosh, you just said something that I can't remember. Oh, basically not even for men. What you said was like never go to bed angry and that type of thing. So you talked about these quote unquote secrets to a healthy marriage. So I want to get into that. You also talked about like communication, like in the terms of like when you walk out that door saying I love you, right? One thing I'll say about that is I think it's important to note that people love differently, and people show love in different ways, and you have to honor that. So for instance, like I remember us having a conversation when you would leave, and I'd be like, I love you, and you were like, to you, I love you was just like words, right? Like you are more so like, I'm gonna show you that I love you by doing whatever, right? I'm gonna get you something that you didn't know, like that you said something about like a month ago. I'm gonna surprise you with it, right? Like that is how you show love, right? Whereas I feel like I show love, like my love language is like words, but also like cooking, like how I care for you. Like that's me, right?
Right.
And I think that's a good thing to note. Would you agree?
I agree. I mean, yeah, we all, love different, like you said, right? And yeah, I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer in words, right? But because you hear, I love you so much, right, from your significant other, right? So like, yeah, you love me, but what else, right? How are you really showing me? Or are these just words, right? Because once you're married for a certain amount of years, or whether you're in a relationship for a certain amount of years, right? What does that love really mean? Right? And that's the way that my mind is thinking, right? So I'm a gift giver, right? I'm someone I like to spend money and, not even spend, I do like to spend money.
He does.
But, I'm going, whether you talk about something like you said, like, hey, 3 or 4 months, or, hey, you're having a bad day, I'm just going to bring some chocolate home, I'll bring some fries home, like things like that, right?
That's true.
That's just something that I'm constantly thinking ahead of, like, what to do, right? How am I going to show my love, right? And that's the way I do. I mean, that's the way I show my love, right? And yeah, I can say the words, but I want you to know, right?
Yeah.
If today was my last day here, right, you would know that, based off my mannerisms, based off what I do, that, hey, Tracy loved me.
Yes. And I do agree with that. Like, I do appreciate that because I feel like actions do speak louder than words, right? But at the same time, like, I'm definitely somebody, like, if you leave this door, I have to tell you I love you because I'm like, anything can happen, right? And I want you to know that, like, you impacted my life. You changed my life. And I do love you. And so for me, I get that you're saying, like, oh, they're just words. But I'm like, no, like, this world is crazy. It's just so crazy, and like we're up against so many things that it's like it's important for you to know like someone loved me in my life, but in that same regard, while you're like, hey, Yazzy's had a bad day, she wants something salty, so I'm gonna buy some fries. In that same regard, like I'm this person be like, he likes this meal, right? Like, oh, I want to try something new. Let me see if he likes it. That's how I show love. It's the way I care for you through food usually. I don't think too far ahead to be like, oh, well, he said he wanted that thing. Let me get. That's not how I operate. Yeah. Okay. So with saying all of that, in terms of like this idea of secrets to a healthy marriage, what would you say are the secrets to a healthy marriage?
I think really knowing your significant other, right? I feel like, whether you're married now or you're about to get married, like knowing what you're getting yourself into. We talked earlier about, hey, when you get married, you're marrying that person, their family, their debt, student loans,
literally
credit
everything.
cards, whatever it may be, that's what you're inheriting, right? So really knowing that person, right? Really knowing what you're getting yourself into, right? That I feel like that's the biggest thing, right? And granted, you'll hear, married couples say, oh yeah, I don't like my wife, and I don't like my in-laws, or hey, I don't like certain parts of family, or hey, I don't like going over her mother or his mother house, like things like that, right? Which is fine, right? It's normal.
Yeah.
Like people have disagreements, but like knowing that other stuff that goes along with it, right? Talk about finances, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't big on that. We didn't talk about that.
No.
That's something that, hey, we just got married and hey, I got, $25,000 in student loans, right? Or hey, I got X amount of credit card debts, right? Knowing that now.
Yeah.
If I was getting married today, those are things that I was probably to talk about, right? As I, continue to build on what I have, or what we have rather. Those are important, communication, right? And I think just about having fun. I feel like, you can talk about the serious stuff about like, family and financials, but also being able to, still love each other, have fun, and make that time for one another. Whether you have kids and, you guys decide to, you know, have a date night every 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever, like, as long as you're making your time. And I know you got to include the kids sometimes, and you do family vacations, and, you know, you got the birthdays, and a lot of people get burnt out. You got work, you look, I mean, whether you're going to school, it's like a lot of things going on, right?
So much.
Always having that time for you and your significant other.